Before I introduce Lori, I would just like to say that I had the privilege of being in training with Lori, and she is such a delight and a loving, light soul that is part of our Coptic family. And it's just my pleasure to be here tonight to introduce her. Lori France is retired from Mott Community College in Flint, Michigan, having spent 20 years in the Michigan school system as a high school teacher and community college instructor. She has studied metaphysics since the mid 1980s, became a Coptic minister in 2007, and in recent months, Lori was appointed to as our newest member at the Coptic Fellowship Board of Directors. That is old information. Lori has left the board, but she still is a great presence among us. She facilitates daily study groups via email on A Course in Miracles and continues to study non-dualism and the meaning of oneness for many traditions.
You're all familiar with the term karma, and generally, sometimes we have a definition of that in our minds as being something negative. But is karma something negative, or could it be positive? And what is karma anyway? And Hamed Bey, again, has a lot to say about karma in his lessons. So first, I'd like to take a look at that before we figure out about going beyond karma. And he addresses the law of karma in lesson 8 from the CD content in a section about reincarnation. So here he is speaking about our being born into whatever environment with specific parents in this current lifetime. And here he rather jokingly makes a funny comparison between those that believe in reincarnation and those who believe that we are here only for one lifetime. And then we are sent to heaven or to hell, depending on how we have lived that one lifetime. So he says, to me, this would be too great a reward and too much of a punishment compared to all eternity. It would not even be the billionth of a second compared to eternity, which would determine the status of our souls. On that premise alone, I turn to the law of karma, for it is nature's law of justice. As ye give, so shall ye receive. So he's telling us that whatever we were born into in this lifetime is the result of previous lifetimes. And now we have a new lifetime to make that a life of positivity or a life of negativity. And later in a lesson called The Art of Happy Living, he addresses karma again in a section called You Possess the Key to Your Own Happiness. And here he says, what is the mystery which so many find in the mere mention of karma? Is karma the cause of all that happens to man? What part does karma play in our happiness? Karma is a word which defines the law of cause and effect. The cause is found to be part of the abstract world, the mental world, and the effect is the result or manifestation in the physical world. Your thoughts are the seeds you plant in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind sees to it that these seeds grow and bloom forth into manifestation. So your destiny, your happiness is in your own hands. And so here he is speaking about what seeds do we plant. And he also mentions the quote from the Bible, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. So another way of understanding karma can be found in a channeled work called The Way of Mastery. And here it says, karma, as popularly considered, means that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. For everything you put out, a similar energy returns. And again, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. For some clarification on this, here is more from The Way of Mastery, and this comes from a section called Freedom is Love Under All Conditions. And it says, now I have said before that karma can exist only where unconditional loving does not. Each time you hold an unloving thought, you are going to experience the effect of the fruit of that thought. In reality, there are two levels at which this occurs. The first is immediate, and the second is mediated through the forms of time. Now, when I read that, I thought of something that I experienced when driving from Michigan to North Carolina on Interstate 75, going through the northern part of Kentucky. I had just crossed over the bridge over the Ohio River and past Cincinnati, and on the highway, a very fast and aggressive driver was swerving back and forth from one lane to another, trying to get ahead of all the traffic. And the car got past me, thank goodness, and kept going really fast. Anyway, then about another mile or so down the road, I saw the same car totally tipped over, upside down off the road. And wow, that's definitely some immediate karma. So you may all have seen something or experienced something similar to this while you're out driving somewhere. Anyway, so another thing to consider beyond that type of event is that unloving, negative thoughts also have an immediate effect in a way that many people have no clue about. So consider these words from The Way of Mastery. The very moment you think an unloving thought as a physically embodied being, you immediately alter the electrical flow of energy or your vibration through the physical system. And further on, it says, there are many ways in which you can resist and create a blockage in the flow of energy through the system. It is all around some form of negative thought. All negativity is an expression of fear. All attempts to control another are really fear. Anger is merely a form of fear. So the very moment in which the mind is used to think a negative thought, there is a very immediate karmic effect. Given that effect over a period of time, which would be mediated, an illness is created in the body. Depression is created in the emotional field. So these negative thoughts actually create illness in the body, like you read about in Louise Hay's books. And then, of course, sadness and depression is created in one's emotional field. So this kind of unloving negative thinking over time now creates a mediated form of karmic response. Mediated means that over time, your thoughts and beliefs that have been buried in you since birth, growing up with your parents, any thoughts about guilt or unworthiness, and how all of that coagulates together and eventually has a karmic effect. And I recently came across a very sad note that my sister-in-law, Betty, had sent me in the year 2000. So like almost 25 years ago now. And in that long 16-page note, she mentioned when she was growing up in Louisiana, how she was told by her mother over and over again that she was worthless and that she was not lovable. In Betty's note to me, she mentioned her mother's intense disapproval of her and how she had been beaten and physically punished by this mother over and over again. But somehow Betty moved on from her mother's negativity. She grew up, she went to medical school, and she became a registered nurse. But all those thoughts while growing up were still there, both in her conscious and her subconscious mind. And in that year 2000, in her note, she actually wrote the words, "I'm trash." And then a few months later, in October of that year, she drove to a huge bridge over the Mississippi River and she jumped off the bridge to her death. Sad. Very sad story. And definitely some mediated karma. Now, let's look at how we can move beyond the mediated and immediate effects of karma, our thoughts and beliefs about ourselves and others. So transcending karma, moving beyond both the immediate and mediated forms of karma, can be accomplished by translating it into something else. And so what does that mean? In the Way of Mastery, it says, karma can become the fulfillment of your purpose, your very way to extend and teach only love. For when you see that the effects called your life are the result of limited, fearful thoughts or beliefs you have held about yourself and about the world, you can embrace the effects you have created and see them in a new light. So the first step in this journey is to understand that karma can only exist where unconditional loving does not. The Way of Mastery explains that there is a transcendence of karma through unconditional love. And unconditional love is always the fruit of the decision to first love oneself. So loving ourselves first is a tremendous step in going beyond karma. Self-love, and this is a capital S self and capital L love. So not the ego self, but your true self. And self-love is extremely important as you move forward in your understanding that you are that love, that wholeness, the oneness of the Creator, and that nothing can hurt you or affect you in any way. Another path to achieving self-love is to directly address your subconscious mind while you sleep. And there are many sleep meditations available on YouTube, and I'm sure elsewhere, about self-love. And the one I always recommend is from, and you heard me say this before, from a channel called Progressive Hypnosis. Anyway, Now, the second step in achieving unconditional love is to recognize that nothing here on the physical plane can affect you in any way unless you choose to allow that into your consciousness as negative thinking, judgment, fear. And here's some more thoughts to consider from Way of Mastery. I choose to allow these very conditions to be those conditions under which I now learn to choose love. What can I appreciate in this moment? What can I give forgiveness unto? What have I been avoiding, which I can now embrace? So now, any set of conditions created as the effect of fear-based thinking now becomes the very pathway that will lead you to transcend the negative thinking and enter a domain of the use of the mind that will create effects far more enjoyable, far more expansive than you have ever imagined. So whatever is going on in your life, money issues, difficulty with another person, your spouse, your children, whatever it is, must be looked at as your pathway forward, your opportunity to choose love. In choosing love, begin to appreciate what you have created. Find what can be appreciated within it. Wrap the arms of your love around it. Bring unconditional love to it. Thereby, you will find a window, a doorway to the creation of a new use of the mind that must necessarily require the universe to rearrange itself to accommodate your new vibration. So every time you think you have failed, celebrate. Celebrate your so-called failure as though it were a success. For remember, it is up to you to decide what you will perceive. Events are just neutral. Therefore, you are free to celebrate what you call your failures. When you celebrate them, they are your successes. Any successful person knows they can never fail. They merely learn and become wiser. They merely learn and become wiser. So no matter what your circumstances are, even if you can't pay your mortgage or your taxes or whatever, remember to become one who is no longer at the effect of karma. Become one who uses karma wisely by looking honestly at your life, learning what needs to be learned without judgment, but rather in celebration. And I love these words from the Way of Mastery as it says, the things of the world become translated into that which supports your ever increasing joy, success, fun, pleasure, material improvement, and new friends. It supports all of it when you see through the eyes of love. Then you literally look at the world around you and finally get that it was never what you thought it was because you failed to separate yourself from God, from love. You cannot separate yourself from love. Do not then lament your life as it is, for it is absolutely perfect. Each set of conditions contains within it everything you need to translate your life into that which expresses your love of God. Never lament what you create. Never lament what you experience. Never judge yourself and say, oh, why did I do that? I should have done this. No, never lament. Celebrate yourself with unconditional love, and that's it. Be love, for that is what you are. And that is your pathway to transcending karma. Your unconditional love is the doorway to freedom from karma as you embrace everything with love, no judgment, no fear, only your loving, warm embrace. So thanks for listening to this. And here's a big, warm, loving embrace for all of you wonderful souls. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Lori, so much for joining us tonight and giving us that beautiful, that beautiful reminder of who we truly are. And we're going to open it now for discussion. If anyone has anything to add or questions that they might like to ask Lori, or just join in with either what Nancy had to say before the talk, or what Lori has to answer about that, please feel free to join us in the discussion. I'll start. So I many years ago, I don't even know how old I was, but it occurred to me that Jesus came, because I was always wondering about karma, and sometimes when you're first learning about it, it feels like a tool of punishment. Like, uh-oh, the divine 2x4, here it comes because I did something wrong. But the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, like the Old Testament kind of talks about an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and very much the law of the old thinking of karma. And then Jesus comes along in the New Testament and offers mercy. And his message is all about love. And I thought, I wonder if Jesus is here to show us how to transcend karma. And so I have played with that for years. So I absolutely love how you fashioned your talk in that direction, because I truly believe that to be true. Not that it's easy, but it's a simple message. It's not easy to keep, as a human doing, to keep on trying to just be the love that we each are. So thank you so much for what you had to share tonight, Lori.
Thank you. Yeah, choose love.
Choose love. Yes.
I read somewhere recently, every morning, first thing when you wake up, let this thought come into your mind: choose love.
Mm-hmm.
Before you do anything, before you get out of bed or whatever, choose love.
Perfect timing, Lori. It's been a little bumpy around here the last few weeks. And like I said, Floyd, he gets to a point where he just doesn't understand what's going on, and why can't my stuff be where it was, and all this good stuff, and why aren't they here on time? So this is a good reminder. And when that tree limb came down on the house, I was talking about it before. I was at that one in-person Saturday or whatever it was that we had, and Steve was asking me how it was coming with the house. Well, of course, it happened in October. We're finally getting it started now. And his sister Linda was standing there, and she was just kind of quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden she said, "Claudia, it happened for you." And I'm like, that's the first thing that jumps in there is the karma thing, and I'm like, wait a minute. So I've been contemplating that a lot since this all happened, but I have chosen to think about the good things like a brand new roof and the opportunity to really be more patient with Floyd. I mean, it's not the easiest. It's like having a parent, an aged parent that you have to be mindful and be calm. And because if you get upset, then they're just going to get more upset. So it's been a really good lesson for me. So thank you, Lori.
Yes.
Good timing.
Yeah, from my perspective, I've always, well, I won't say always, but for many, many years, I've seen karma as not just a negative thing, but there's a positive side to it as well, because all response to prayer, all forms of manifesting, they're using the same principle that the energy you put out into the world is going to come back to you one way or another. And that works whether it's positive or negative. And jumping off of what Claudia was just saying, I've come to a point where no matter what happens, I'm always looking at it like, what's the good that comes from this? What's the positive side of this? Even if it's something I don't enjoy at the moment, I'm looking for, there's a benefit here somewhere. Because I know that if we look for it, we can always find it.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's definitely the way it is.
Always a silver lining, and we get to choose. What lens are we going to see that through?
Yeah, there was a talk that I did a number of years ago when we were actually at the Coptic Center that was called Opportunity to Upgrade. And it was basically based on that idea that, okay, my computer died. Okay, what's the benefit of that? Well, there's an opportunity to upgrade. I can get a new one.
Or a new
I believe I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any thoughts that they'd like to share?
I just have a question, Lori. Wasn't Way of Mastery also channeled by Yeshua too, as
Yes.
is a lot of the others? Yeah, Course in Miracles. And that
Yeah,
type.
right.
Yeah.
Channeled through, well, it's called the Shanti Cristo Foundation.
Okay.
And the guy goes by the name Jahem, who did the actual channeling. Yeah. It's
Okay.
an interesting work. And he mentions Course in Miracles many times throughout the Way of Mastery.
Interesting.
Lots of information coming in from different sources.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that you brought that up, and then it kind of connected to what Darcy was saying about Yeshua, or about Jesus when he was coming in, the mercy and the grace that he brought too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Looks like Alan has posted that their website, or
Well, actually, I did a
Amazon, the
search
book.
and I came up with a listing on Amazon with the book. And you can get a Kindle version for $25 or the hardcover book for $47. So there was a 400-page book.
Yeah, it's
related to
35
that.
lessons. Yeah.
wow.
And actually, okay, now I see the second listing here is the actual website for the organization. So there's that.
So you can check that out in the chat.
It's written in a modern language, not like Course in Miracles is written in a very older style, patriarchal language, and so it's for some people the Way of Mastery is much easier to understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you do the class online with A Course in Miracles. Do you do part of the Way of Mastery also yet?
Well, to tell you, I have been considering this as a project, my next project, because I do, the Course in Miracles, I have 3 groups running throughout the year. And every day I send out about, 200 plus emails to all these different people in the 3 groups. It's not individually, but, as a group. Anyway, so I was thinking about putting together a whole, and I've actually kind of started it a bit, a whole thing where I would do do a review of the Way of Mastery, and then include videos with that might help people to understand it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So I'm working on it. It's
Okay.
well, I'll get that done, I think.
Stay tuned. We'll let you know.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
I might nominate you, Lori, to be one of our conference speakers.
Oh.
Oh, yes, you have good information.
Well, the Way of Mastery's been around for a long time. By the way, I bought a used version of it, so it was quite a bit cheaper than the price that Alan was mentioning.
Yeah.
A used copy, but it's nice. It's still in good shape.
Good.
Thank you so much, Lori, for
you.
spending this evening with us and sharing your wonderful uplifting message. I appreciate each and every one of you who are here with us this evening. Thank you so much for adding your loving energy to the collective here. And I wish you all the best again. Look for the Coptic website for further Tuesday night offerings, as well as several workshops that are coming up. Mark's is on Thursday and is the beginning of a little spring workshop series. Well, I guess Alan was the first one last week with his hypnotic manifestation. Is that correct? And I was
Pretty close. Yeah.
unable to go to that one, but it will be on sale through the Coptic website, will it not?
Yeah. I have to double check to see if the listing got finalized or if I still need to do some work to make it available.
But some other interesting kinds of teachings that will come from some of the speakers that were part of our March 2nd virtual event. So hope to see some of you there. So have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for coming. Bye-bye now.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.